series organized by the Environmental Landscape Studio Laboratory of the Department of Landscape Architecture, College of Architecture, UP Diliman. Today in our program, we have the faculty of Environmental Landscape Studio Laboratory and students from the undergrad courses. And then, wait a second, I'm in YouTube. Okay, so we have students from the undergraduate courses, diploma courses, and even graduate studies of the department. I will be your host, Professor Madonna Danao, and your moderator is Professor Carl Justin de la Pisa. And for our reactor, we have Professor Dan Villawan, our program director. And our webinar is also live in YouTube. Okay, so let's now proceed to the webinar proper. Wait a second, okay? So our resource speaker is a distinguished landscape architect, planner from China. Professor Jenny Tang is the is a co-founder and principal of Ecoland Planning and Design Incorporated. The company is a multidisciplinary planning and design firm with extensive multidisciplinary expertise in Beijing. The firm has obtained China's Class A license qualification for urban and rural planning, landscape architecture, and architecture, as well as the ISO 9001 Quality Management System certificates. Ecoland staff consists of approximately 300 planners, landscape architects, graphic designers, and support personnel. Professor Tang graduated from University of Massachusetts, Landscape Architecture and Regional Planning in 1989 and has 30 years of professional experience in landscape architecture and urban planning. She worked both in the public sector and as a private consultant and has a thorough understanding of design and planning principles, as well as the approvals process and construction management. Beside her focused professional services such as urban planning, resort planning, and landscape design, she has also volunteered her time in some professional related work, including as visiting professor of landscape architecture in Polytech University of Milan, Italy, sat as panel of judge in the design review board for various projects in China, and done several lectures in other universities such as the University of Sheffield in UK, University of Massachusetts in Amherst, USA, Massachusetts, and lectures and invitation in Tsinghua University and Beijing University. And he has also authored and published many journal articles in the field of planning, architecture, and landscape architecture, including our more recent article, Protecting the Biodiversity in the Fast Urbanization Age in Elsevier 198. Prior to joining Ecoland, Professor Tang was with EDSA from 2001 to 2005 as Vice President and Asia representative. She has also served in public sector as a principal planner for City of Hollywood, Florida from 1997 to 2001. She was responsible for Design Review Board, Historic Preservation Board, and update revisions of the city's landscape design manual and the city's AIA beautification landscape project for City of Hollywood, Florida. So without further ado, we would like to welcome in UP Architecture, Professor Jenny Tang.
Thank you.
Yes.
Wow, that's a very thorough introduction. um, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Madonna, and thank for Department Chair Professor Dan Villa Jones I'm going to share my screen now.
Yes, you can.
Let's see. Wait, give me a second. I'm not very good on this. How do I? Okay, I can share my screen. Wait, I might have to get out first.
Yeah, you're now one of the co-hosts, so you can share your screen.
I have the screen, but
You want me to share? I have your presentation with me.
I'm okay. Find it.
Okay.
Okay. Can you see now?
Yes.
Good. Let's start. Okay. Good morning again. Thank you for this opportunity. My topic today is designing livable place in cities. As Madonna already introduced, Ecoland has been in business, has been started its own well-established multidisciplinary planning and design firm with long-term partners in Los Angeles, Atlanta, London, and other prime locations. We also have branch offices in Chengdu, Wuhan, Chongqing, Qingdao, Shanghai, and Changsha. Our headquarters is in Beijing, and we have obtained Class A license qualification for urban and rural planning, architecture, and landscape architecture, as well as architecture and ISO 9001 qualification management. In China, the certificate system is a bit different compared to other countries. Instead of license a person in the profession, the certification is given to a company that have a group of people to meet a certain number of professions who meets the standard and qualify to perform certain work. Our team work collaboratively with clients completing projects all over China as well as some part of the world. We strive to apply our knowledge of urban planning, architecture, and environmental and cultural issues by using design intelligence to provide a livable city space. We, over the year, we have probably 1,000 contracted projects, more than that, and more than 200 are built all over the China. So I'm going to just a little bit faster on this. Basically, our main practice is in planning and urban and rural land use planning, urban design, landscape architecture, and resort and designation planning, environmental planning, and ecosystem restoration. In today's topic, I will basically focus on the urban design area, and I used a few projects of us. Our Beijing office is in this office compound in one of the building behind there, 7th and 8th floor. Like Madonna mentioned, we have about 300 professionals. We also, just like you did, we as a company also frequently, periodically invite many outside speakers and visitors to give a seminar to our design team so they can keep up to date. The invitation in the past lecture has been given from such as Louisiana State University, University of Massachusetts, University of Sheffield, Harvard Graduate School of US, and so on. So this is one of the visit that to our office staff. We also host intern program with all these universities. We have about 2 or 3 students each year, pretty much minimum 2 or 3 students each year. And we, in the past, it started from about 15 years with Professor, this professor, the previous, I showed the lecture, Max Conway from LSU. These 2 students were interns in our office in 2008. It happened to be in the year that Beijing hosts Olympics, so they're wearing all these Olympic t-shirts. This is last November when I went to Cebu, Philippines, and I got the chance to visit a little bit, and I loved the place. And hopefully when this pandemic is over, we can visit again. Last year, our 12 project has won the IFLA Asia Excellent Project Award. Now to the topic, what can we do in the urbanization? Everyone is part of the urbanization. When the students, when you graduate, when you're in practice, a majority of us will go to these 3 categories: government officials, planners and designers, developer, business leaders, or just being a citizen. What can we do? If you are working in a government office as officials, you can change the regulatory climate. You can change the economic climate. You can change the dialogue to educate citizens. For example, Greenway by more climate sensitive, sustainable. You can change the political climate to build the citizen support. As a planner, as a designer, there are more we can do. We can early involved in the project. So in a lot of bigger issues to participate in the discussion and decision making. We can urge the local leaders to create environmental aware based vision for future, for smart growth. We can insist on quality and track record of success. We can do some research, and we can integrate with the other professionals. Of course, we can teach. Teaching is a very respected profession too. As a developer, business leader, and there are a lot of things we can do too. As a developer, what you can do is you can pick the right team to do the right work, and you can try to educate yourself and educate the citizens too. So today I'm going to basically, with the time frame, just to share 3 points with 6 of our urban design project. Number 1 is the best use of what we have. What we have is limited, but the design is unlimited. We have land, for example, farmland, forest, urban land, brownfield. If we destroy the farmland, it will probably take a long time to be able to have the high productivity again to back to farmland. We can utilize infrastructure, including surface and underground. We can, like, for example, when we talk about the resource, what we have, not only the natural and cultural resource, some not a physical resource we can use. And also think about what's already built: the school, post office, the bank, the hospital, the church, theater. Those are already built and has municipality facilities. though if we can concentrate development where we already have, we can save. So take Chicago as an example. Chicago can save 3.7 billions over the past 20 years by growing creatively or smartly. And the nation as a whole can save a lot, which goes towards the citizens' tax. The sources here is from the 2002. So the first example of our project, this project, we try to utilize what we have. The project name is Laoximen, or we call it the Old Gate Phase 1 in Chengdu, China. This project covers 8.7 hectares, or total is 11.5 development. Prior to development, this project is together. This yellow part is our project. When we say 2.6 is the phase 1, it's a small area of there. What it used to be looks like that. The project together with the overall water rehabilitation project, 5.3 kilometers. The canal need to be cleaned and go all the way. After it's cleaned, then discharge to the river. So we did a research of what we have. We find in 1813, there was an old city map, which shows the city Old Town, part of Old Town, has a canal around the city, has a wall around the city. But during the World War II, all of these has all bombed away or gone. It's not physically exist. There were only a small piece of wall, and there's only one well, the water well, with a legendary story in it. And the canal, the old canal, was covered with concrete with a sewage underneath. So we decided to bring the canal to the surface as part of it and bring back the old glory of the city. The site has a rich history which can be tracked back to the Ming Dynasty. These historical artifacts survive the devastation, which influence the people, influence the culture. So in the design, we have, through this canal, we have a lot of corridors, we have notes, we have this area is what I'm going to share mainly, the phase 1. Cover the site over the year is the about 1,600 household living in the unsaved structure. So the whole development philosophy is this: the government involved, they offer the land to developer with the cost for them to rebuild those housings. Affordable housing, the cost of affordable housing is their price to develop this piece of land. In return, in the zoning, they're allowed to build about more than 30,000 square meters of residential housing they can put on the market. They are allowed to build about 70,000 square meters of mixed-use commercial, which they can managing in the future to serve these neighborhood and serve the city. So the project goal is to transform this 6.4 acres of forgotten part of the old town structure, unsafe structure, into a popular waterfront district. This is the phase 1, very small. We call the Calabash Pond. When we did the research, we also find architecture tradition, which is almost lost in the local. In the old tradition, although there are not a lot existed, people are using the roof, slope roof, and in the square to collect rainwater to the central platform. just like this when people collect them. So the water goes to the center, goes to the courtyard, they collect them and they treat it as a fortune. The architect worked with us very closely. So we design architecture underneath we design about 2-3 floors landmark architecture in the round, also sloped roof, also collect water to the center, also collect the water in the central pond. The challenge we're, as a landscape architect, we're facing is the water level difference from the season. Sometimes it's low like this, sometimes it can go very high like this year. This year in the southern China, there are a lot of flood, a lot of rain, a lot of city it has flood going on. But we happen to have a USL team visited, need to be like a remote visit to the site because it has been it has won the shortlist of ULI, Urban Land Institute, excellent project shortlist this year. And we find even though in this heavy flood season, the place survive because we plan ahead. We use the step, we keep the whole floor elevation to the higher level, which meets 100 years flood requirement. But we use the step going down with all the landscape. These part, they can emerge in the water without damaging the people's circulation, without damaging the regular use of the place. During the dry season, which is most of time of the year, people can sit on these steps as amphitheater to surround the central courtyard where the rainwater collected. So this is the design when we first started to design drawing. Here's the normal water level that I talked about. Here's the high water level will be showed here. And on the other side, the local has a tradition of the local opera, which just fit into our design theme. We provide them with a stage. We provide the audience with all these seatings. This is after build. So the rehabilitation of the water system was an essential and integral part of the project. For decades, the ancient moat was concealed under the concrete. Now they were able to be seen in a clean way. Today, the build Calabash Court recognized the site's turbulent past and saw it as a reflective and symbolic of the town's modern history. This is when it has shown at the night. The colored lighting and the stage opposite the amphitheater, together with the newly planted landscape, the old West Gate in the evening, that become that evening designation, become the choice of the city's residents, attracting people not only in the neighborhood, people who move to here, but also to the whole town, as well as a lot of people even go there just to visit from the northern or from the southern part of other city. We can see people are practicing their singing. That's their tradition. So in the detail of design, we want to have the nature mixed with the very hard, very modern concrete. And we also collected some demolished, the old stone to be used. So here's the water designed to be a focal point. It links the space with the historic significance of the water. And the stone waterfall, step by step, also collecting the rainwater, which shows a sensitive thread together with Asian and modern design aesthetic, with some function of the maybe educating people how the rainwater can be collected and reused. So this is during the dry season. People can follow the steps. Trees with colors and local stone reclaimed on site. The steps and the complementary planting are all woven together to create a dynamic space, which draws people from nearby. This is the detail. I talk about we find a portion of ancient city wall which was preserved nearby site, and this is also nearby site in our bigger area of conceptual study. This well survived World War II. It has a legendary story. Good fortune. People can like have good fortune, have a story to tell. In order to preserve it in the planning, we recommend to keep it at its original elevation. And we also recommend reuse the stone slabs salvaged from the site. You can see the well's elevation is different from the street's level. But with the step down, it becomes a space that people can stay without disturbing by the traffic circulation. And this is at the nighttime, the well become a sunken plaza. The original placement, the grade level surrounding paving stone were meticulously all restored. This is in phase 2. So old stones, old pavers from the demolition site were all worked, all used in the site. Today, it's a lush vegetated environment and aquatic habitat. A rebuilt traditional bridge celebrate a Westgate cultural history. It lead to the Calabash Court, lead to the core of this whole canal green. We can call it greenway, as it perfectly located for pedestrian flow. The whole street, whole circulation become a non-vehicle, a vehicle-free pedestrian district. It brings the past to life, and a modern architectural context become a major focus to the architect, to the visitors. The great popularity of the linear waterfront park, it reflects the way the restoration of historic site has a, when we say historic site is in the story, in the literatures, in the maps, but the physical historic, let's say, architecture are not exist. A lot of things are not there, but we were able to bring back the old glory. You can have a peek of that. You can have a feeling of that with the contemporary architecture and the contemporary water fountains, contemporary design of pavings, with some elements of the history. That's a mixed. I think that's what we're looking for, the design which tells the story but represent the current date. So in addition to providing valuable open space, Lao Ximen is the place called. It has become an economic generator for the neighborhood. A successful design need economically successful too. it attracting investments towards the new retails. It has actually attract some local food cuisines. People go there, they have to go to those restaurants to have a taste. They spend money, they make the economic of the old town with the glory as well. This is what it looks today. And this is the canal after it's cleaned. Here is the phase two leading towards the phase one. So that's our first project, which demonstrate we try to use what we have. We use the old towns, municipalities, infrastructure. We reuse the old stones. We reuse the his architecture traditions. We even reuse the people who love opera in the local, which altogether helps to bring the economical revival of the place. So the second project I'm going to share is called 1949, The Hidden City. Just from that, you can tell this place has a story in 1949. It is a factory. It was, 1949 was the People's Republic of China started to take over from Chiang Kai-shek. So in that year, they built electronic institute and manufacturer factory right outside of second ring, inside the third ring of the capital city. The site looks like that. It was because the land is in the prime land, so that the developer has two options. One is the lower density, and one is the higher density to tear down everything and rebuild more spaces, which is allowed by zoning. But in discussion with the developer, which is the Li Jiacheng, very famous Hong Kong developer, and they reach agreement with the government, with us together. Pay attention to this well. Which is allowed by zoning. Can everyone turn your sound off because it's echoing? And they reach agreement with government with us together. I hear my sound is echoing. Can everyone check if your sound is in mute? Thank you. As I said,
someone is watching.
Should I continue?
Yes, sure.
Okay. The site is located in the prime location inside the third ring road of capital city. When we there. Okay. So when we, as a team, Ecoland did the planning of the site. It's a small project. We did the planning, we did the landscape architecture, we even did the architecture design and interior design for this project. So to begin with the project, we are looking at what we have. We find elm trees. We had dated back to 1960s. We find 18 trees are planted in 1959. And we find the courtyard arrangement is still functional with the circulation. So we were able to convince the developer and redo this project based on the footprint. Although with some wall had been tear down, but the footprint kept. In result, the 18 existing trees planted in 1949 to nowadays is 70 years big trees. So we were able to save that and refunction. This place is not a factory again. It need to have a new function. The new function is retail, commercial, restaurants, cafe, bar, Peking duck restaurant, Western restaurant, art gallery. The sequence of going there is you first go through an art gallery. If you meet with a friend while waiting, you can go through the art gallery, and then you can sit down in the sunroofed cafe to have a cup of coffee or tea, and then you decide where you're going to sit down and chat, either outdoor or indoors. So this is the courtyard model we built. And these are the art gallery on the left side and Chinese restaurant interior on the left side. We also have settings, invite local artists to display their sculptures to the courtyard. So it has some art flavor of the whole site. This is the courtyard before our design and construction, and this is after it's built. This wall has been tear down. In replace is the structure. This roof can, the canvas can open during the daytime. It can close at the nighttime. And this is the area people can enjoy the sun during the daytime, and the light can go through at the nighttime. So the brick reclaimed from the demolition of the on-site factory were utilized in constructing new pathway. The new covered new covered walkway also helped to guiding people. The canopy of 18 original trees shield this world-renowned Peking duck restaurant from soaring from the summer sun, while offering all these office workers from the high rise during the day to come outdoors, sit under the tree when they relax. I ask you to pay attention to that well. This was a cooling well for the industry use. A regular practice for us, normally people will just relocate this as a trash and flatter the land and then do whatever they want to the site. We did a creative way. We have other material just to wrap around it with the lighting design, and we utilize the well as a cooling for the wine. It become a wine bar, outdoor wine bar serving people. So the original cooling well, it was repurposed into a story wine cellar with the rainbow colored lighting illuminated. Its centralized location has acted as heart of the project. It's redirecting the energetic vibes and drawing visitors to the inner courtyard. Here you can see the spatial interaction between the rooftop. People can also take steps to the rooftop. Rooftop serves the beer, which can have the cooperative rehab right here at the roof on the upper right corner. This create dialogue between the two separate interconnected space. The dynamic nature of the area allows it to function as a major gathering space and nightlife hotspot. In another area, we repurposed the factory steel door, to create a dynamic threshold separating public and private zone. This is a more private clubhouse, more with a lot of meeting rooms inside. And you go in with the rhythmic arrangement of both lighting design and art installations along the pathway to made from recycled factory steel. The bridge direct the visitors through the space. As you can see, this buffers the pathway I just showed you, and this is another restaurant, opened outdoor seating area. So the pathway created with recycled brick highlight the compound's original identity, while the architecture's human scale offers a striking contrast to the skyscrapers that surrounded the entire development. Local artists, sculpture by local artists, are featured prominently on pedestal to give you a sense of entry. The second point I want to say as a profession is we want to make our design to attract the best, to attract the people who want to settle down, who want to visit and want to stay longer in the place and want to spend their money too as well. Today's city are competing for young knowledge workers, affluent professionals, and the creative class, entrepreneurs, and artists. These groups tend to prefer high quality urban living. New residents, these new design help them to transfer and settle down. What we want to attract, including teachers, doctors and the nurse, police officers to make the place safer, researchers, high-tech computer genius, retails and sales service professions, public workers. So we want to build a place, we want to build a more suitable place for them. The next sample, the third project I'm going to share with you is called Wangjing Soho, which is a completely new project in the outside of the fourth ring in the north of Beijing, not far from the airport, from the old airport, T3. Of course, the new airport just recently opened is also designed by the same architect. Ecoland has worked with Zaha Hadid's for 3 projects in Beijing. She has 4 projects total in Beijing. The 4th one is airport. Unfortunately, we weren't able to participate, and unfortunately, she had passed away from a sudden heart attack. So this project has made a lot of international press, including this one on the right, made the cover story. Here I am with Zaha, and Satoshi is their architect in Beijing, in charge of their Beijing office. This is the design. This design has go through a lot of discussions. Take a look of this water. The project has 3 office tower with retail commercial mixed use in the first floor and the underground floor. Pay attention to this water here. It's right here, and compare to the 3 tower. I'll show you later what it is. This project total, it covered 8.7 acres, 8.7 hectares in America, people use acres, equals to 21 acres of total development, and is 11.5 hectares uh, together with the green space, which the developer doesn't own. Actually, the developer does not own this land, does not own this piece of land, but we designed together the site plan in the site plan. So they look as the same project. You can't even find the project. There are no walls surrounding this project as you normally see to surround it each private development in a lot of China's traditional project. So the site was a leftover space in the booming area in Beijing. Surrounding it was all developed at the beginning of our project. Our goal is to design, to create a central community hub for the area, for the Wangjing area. Now look at the area I showed you with the water pond. It turned out to be a water feature there. The reason is when the landscape architect involved, we know that area is in most of our in the building's shade in the close to the north area of the site. So we decide to have a major water feature in the north, in the other side, in the north area, and has a major green area in the southern area. It become a different water feature. So this is the planning, and here's the water feature in the shadow. In the sunny area, become the lawn, and here's the public park and a more forestry walking area. This is the one of the main entries with the native popular trees and grass along the edge, leading people towards the central building. Besides providing shade, the tree form a visual buffer to the building. And here's the water feature. The difficulty challenging to landscape architect is this architecture has a very, everything designed by Zaha has a very unique curved line in her architecture design. Our site planning all consists with the echoes with the architecture, all with the curved line. The challenge, as I said, there are no, basically not very much repeat elements in our drawing board. Most of them has to be custom designed, all curved line. And at the same time, all the catch basins cannot be visible. All the paving pattern are curved. All the catch basins, the rainwater need to be functioned, but not seen from the top of the building. This is the water feature from looking from the top of the office tower. And these are the curved seating and the lighting. These are the walls and the walks. So during the days, the tranquil central fountain in the northern plaza become a calming oasis and a retreat to the office worker and also to the neighborhood. A curvilinear retaining wall beneath the tree act as shady seating spots for people wishing to relax, socializing, or enjoy the water scene, enjoy the music fountain of the water. The pool is zero entry, which make it safe, and during the winter also easy to maintain. It can be dried and not become an eyesore. Also towards the end, there's a curved bridge, which is worth mentioning. This unique curvilinear bridge span a portion of the fountain pool. So you look at the the pool looks like it has not been ended here. It will extend it to somewhere else. And this method is very popular used in the traditional Chinese garden and design, the method. This smooth dynamic line consists of consists with architecture um, artfulness. The use of lightweight steel in its construction preclude any structural difficulties. So this is the drawing of the bridge. It's so difficult for the regular material. We decide to use the steel, unique design, now curve both horizontally and vertically. And because it's very, it need to be safe. We designed no railing, so the pool need to be really, really shallow. It's like maybe 1 inch of water. These three high-rise office tower, they share a large underground parking garage, which necessitate the excavate a lot of cotton fields, huge amount of earth, but also demands high functioning drainage system. Also, drainage system needs to be covered without seeing, even in the paving design. So on the other side of the building, the paving design, we create a waterscape. The reason to create this waterscape is one, because we have a lot of cut and fill work, which already make it possible. It caused by the underground parking. Two, there's a problem we need to solve. There's a challenge for the future retail in the underground. Normally, they are difficult to attract people from the street to go underground to the dark underground basement level for the retail, for the commercial. So in order to open the underground space, the design team together with the architect decided to the streets to with the outdoor step down with the water feature. People can just walk down this. Rainwater can also go down this to the central collecting point and flow into the city's municipality drainage system. This waterscape and the terrace are surrounded with network of paths and planting. They also become an amphitheater when there's an event. People can sit here, watch the show, watch any commercial promotions right there with a stage. They can put up a stage too. So it becomes the Sunken Plaza. It's a popular shopping, eating, strolling designation for the local community now. This amphitheater act as a major focal point. It attract people to the park from the retail stores, as I mentioned. So the water feature with some lighting, it will be lit during the night. The landform modification, the grade elevation design incorporate with water planting allows expression of the curvilinear style. These are all echoes with the architect style. It makes for a more naturalistic setting. You can see we use BIM, building information modeling. BIM is very popular used by the architect, but it hasn't been popular in the landscape architecture practice. So in this, we worked with the architect. We were able to use the BIM as well. We also, at the beginning, the client decided the whole project need to meet LEED standard, LEED, leadership of environmental. It was strictly followed. This pervious area, as you see, with pebble filled swell, these retaining walls become a leaded seating wall. This hardscape line of seating platform, making for seamless public wayfinding between the garden and the pedestrian pathway. Pedestrian go down slope to the, from here, these people going down to the commercial area. These people can sit here calmly without being disturbed. So children and adult alike are afforded a quiet and safe haven. You don't have to worry about car. The whole area is pedestrian only. Lighting, illumination, or nightlife activities here is very active. Illuminated walls, as well as illuminated seating walls, they buffers the landscape, they guide the people. Here's the wall at the night when it's lit. Here's the wall and some native planting. The second project in this category, total, the fourth project I'm sharing is called the JD.com headquarters in Beijing. That is in the fifth ring, outside of fifth rings. JD.com company is just like Amazon in US. It's very popular online shopping companies. They have their own shipment, they have their own shopping network, a lot of things you can buy. Basically, you can buy everything on JD Network. I'm not trying to advertise for them. I'm just like for this enterprise, for big enterprise, normally their headquarters is not open to public. What I'm saying is in this project, we did the site plan for their headquarters building one, and we were able to discuss with the client together, decided open one side of streets and make their courtyard open to the public. This project win the BALI award in Britain. In the backyard, because of the building is also high-rise, we propose a reflective water surface and grassy area with tree in distinctive circle and square pattern. Circle and square pattern are very commonly used in China. There's a saying, old saying is, the sky and heaven are square and the earth are round. So square and round pattern are quite popular. This is one way to show the China local flavor in the project, although it is modern, contemporary. The use of that design service encompass landscape conceptual design through structure construction document. We did from beginning all the way through the construction period, design, on-site supervision. More specifically, the site design work includes landscape planting, landscape feature design, landform, drainage design, hardscape design, planting, lighting, and site furniture arrangement. Site furniture including lightings. This lighting fixtures inspiration is from the introduction of classical Chinese garden elements. It brings harmony and charming feature into the normally very seriously corporate atmosphere. Um, People working whole day is hard, so we want to make their life a little um, easy and pleasant, more pleasant working environment. The landscape design become a more model in urban enterprise public space design. The introduction of classical Chinese garden elements, which brings people more calming seating area. Motivation behind the landscape design in green space is to blend the corporate headquarters atmosphere with traditional Chinese gardening elements, make it more relaxing as to dedicate space to escape the challenge of work life for a bit. Uh, our design creates a fresh and a simple form, very simple lines, simple expression, clearly fit the moods of modern life. Landscape design offers details of space treatment. Guests guests and employee, they can find ideal space. There are bigger space, there are smaller, all different sizes of outdoor spaces open for diverse activities. Here's a small seating space. Also, there are a lot of mechanical equipment, outdoor. It has to be like air conditions, all those equipment that they have to be on land, outdoor, and in order to buffer the view, not seeing it as a unpleasant view, we find from Chinese tradition this buffer way to use the modern material to hide them behind them. So on the side, you can see a lot of this kind of wall. Behind it is the mechanical equipment, and there are a lot of walls find from the local. The landscape space is not only serving for employee, as I said, mentioned before, it also open to the public. Although the public are not allowed to go into their office building. It represents a trend and will become ever important for the residents living in this area. They are pretty proud. They don't mind. There's big enterprise living in like having in their neighborhood. So this project, they integrate the green space of Jingdong headquarters with its surrounding municipal streetscape and eliminates the barrier between enterprise landscape and the public streets contents. The close gaps between the company and the user exactly reflects the future of e-business service. It reflect our design philosophy, reflect landscape designs. We want to enhance the social influence of the client in this level. The third point I want to share with you is to design for a new choice and trend. Urbanizing population include a lot of household which are not that popular in 30, 40 in our older parents or grandparents generation. Now we have a lot of empty nesters. We have a lot of single parents, couples without children, or new urban residents. They move to city in searching of apartments, condos, housing. They're looking walkable neighborhoods. They're looking for good schools, hospitals, uh, entertainment place, and having fun. So we want to attract them. We design those places for them, which has all those they can find. The next project I'm going to share is one that we are still working on in the multi-phases project called the Redstone Park in Chengdu, China. It is an exceptional, popular, and multi-phase community park. Originally, the client, after it's developed a big, like a new town outside of Chengdu city, the place need people living there. They need to have a setting to do something in the weekend or during the day after work. Um, they don't. They can't go all the way back to the center of Chengdu, which is probably about an hour away. If they cannot find them here, they probably would prefer to live in the old city central. So to start with, our project is right here in the middle. This whole area is the new town. Outside, almost you can call it a new town because it has all different type of land use. It has the water network, it has the green network. This this green part is our park. As you can see, there are different bubbles, shows different faces. They're in the middle, lower spot of the community, and all surrounded by these new housings, new residents designed for the the choosing residents. When the client asks us to design to this park, they just say we need some different activities to suitable for those residents in different age group. They didn't say what kind of park. It's a community park. It's a neighborhood park. So we have some central area we have designed as more active part, and this area is more wetland. It also has a water system. And the water comes in, flows into this area at the rainwater during the rain season. It need to going out as well. And we completed, I'm going to show you these three phases. The phase 4, because the beginning three phases are so successful, it attract people to visit there, even people who doesn't live there in the Chengdu city, even people from Beijing and Guangzhou, they sometimes they will have a tour group go visit there. So now some design program has been changed. This area has been become a more visitors, like a first arrive spot. People first arrive here, they need to make appointment to have group visit to the park. Um, when I say client, just say design a park, they did not call it a Redstone Park. Our team, when we did the initial site visit, we look what we have. We look at uh, the nature factor, the culture factor of the local area, of the local people. We find this red sandstone, uh, all like naked in the site. And the design team, the designer, chief designer is also, they were very excited. They were inspired by this red sandstone. This sandstone is a little bit soft, so it's not a very good construction material. It's been neglected on the site, exposed to the soil, neglected on the site. But as a landscape architect, we think it's a treasure for us actually. So we decided to utilize it. We use it in everywhere. Um, it's geographically was formed from 250 million years ago with a history in the site area. It has geographic like heritage to the area. The design team, we decide to use it as water feature, stone wall material, tables and chairs, decorating rocks, and together with the grass, it set a poetic nature tone in some area for the residents walking down the steps as they entering the garden. The stair fit into the terrain with the plants and the redstones interspersed with each other, creating a trail that residents to enjoy the nature setting. And even very poetic has created. Masses of redstone are distributed in the whole area. We specifically point out where to use these redstones as I'm pointing with my mouse. On this, these are the regular construction materials. Similar idea. We want the nature and man-made hardscape, softscape mixed together to shake hand, hug each other. So in the area, there are some children's adult different to fit a different age. We have areas specifically designed for 0 to 6 years, 4 to 12 years old, 12 years and above, 0 to 3 years old, and adult area, all the different functions. We work with the children's equipment manufacturer together, have a lot of custom made equipment setting in the sand and the grass. After the redstones following the step, they were able to come down. So you see people can sit on the redstone as a parents and watching their kids playing here. One unique element in the children's exploration area is most exciting feature is this winding rainbow slides. It's leading the kids to ride through the branch of existing tree. We pick the area, not vacant. With the trees, we pick the area to have the slides. We ask the equipment manufacturer to custom made these slides around the tree. It become a very attractive feature of the land. It become even a landmark to the neighborhood. It is a place that encourages children to carry out their own imagination with some water, teach them to pump the water to here and then to irrigate the landscape. People can actually use the manpower, pump the water right here. And there's an exercise trail for the people, for the young adult. We also provide settings for different activities. The lawn in the east central of the children's park provides a large open space. It hosts plays, hosts concerts, art festivals, and other events. To appeal to the specific chess and card playing with these seating. Chess playing is very popular in Chengdu area. So in this whole project, we provide a lot of chess playing settings. So that's more activities in that area, and leading to the road, you have other areas. I need to make it fast. In this area is a rain garden, mainly fountain and step down the pools. It cools overnight and meets the warm water fog created for a for a very special view. A zigzag bridge, also very traditional in Chinese garden you can find. And we have the pavilions made from bamboo. The corridor of bamboo reflects of pond on the reflects on the pond, while the pavilion provide local, like pavilion was local architectural character with local architectural character surrounding the bamboo. It does the job of filtering the air and also provide the setting for tea house or for yoga or meditation or chess. Or invite a friend in the neighborhood to drink tea together. A series of terraced pool, this pool allows the rainwater collected and settled and being purified. These aquatic plants before become aquatic plants, it become part of the park's water feature system, becomes a cleaning system. These plant pocket for native grass and the colorful accent trees, they soften and add interest to the hillside. The flowing water established sound and movement, and the native grass, trees, and the bushes change color. So people from neighborhood, they can treat this garden as their backyard garden. The rustic stairway through nature planting of silver and ornamental grass bring residents. These slightly overgrown paths force the resident to brush past the leaves and strolling through to discover the garden. Japanese maple tree provide a punch of color in autumn with red leaf accenting the red stone. These accent stones is a good combination together. See, the father brings sons to, it's a good education for nature. Another very worth mentioning bridge is called like a splitting bridge. In Chinese word, this is people. 人 means people. Also, it's split in. We didn't do it just for ambitions of a designer. It's a challenge of the site. The bridge goes straight to here. It will go to two different areas of the garden from the neighborhood. And when the bridge comes to here, the level, one is very low, one is very tall. In order to have less cut and field and also make it more interesting, we decide to have the bridge at the split point, one part going downside, one part going upside, and towards two different area of the building. And it become a feature, also attract, not only attract people, but also attract some birds to the area. And this is also a sunken drainage water, rainwater, a sunken plaza for people. In another area, we also provide vegetable garden for the festivals. For these are the buildings, the new, we attract the new people, we attract the different age, so they settle down. The older generation and young generation, they have funds, they can educate the kids now where the tomato, cucumbers has come from. So this is the vegetable garden and the cornfield, tomato harvest. In the whole area, biodiversity has been achieved. On the right side, all these flowers are the photographer after build went to the site and find all these images. They collect them and very proud to show. Consists with our planting planet, with our plan for. So the last project I'm going to share is in the very southern China. It's called the Reclaiming Paradise Yanoda Ecotourism Zone. Yanoda is a minority in Hainan Island language. It means 1, 2, 3. So we use the name as Yanoda. When we did this area, we find area. First, our design group were invited just to do the Yanoda Ecotourism Park, and we find the area with the big area is a subtropical, very nice place. And we were able to work with the client, also work with the local government, not only work for the design of the project, but also for a planning of the bigger area to have some regulation. So we know certain area will be protected forever. And so we know the people go there, they only concentrate in certain area. The rest of the area, it will not turn into skyscraper in the future. This area is more for the new entry level students. I'm going to demonstrate a design process, design method of the project. The location here is China's map, and this is the Hainan Island. In the middle of the highland, the red dot is this project area. We find it has a lot of rich culture, a lot of minority people, women, a lot of their traditionally arts and crafts, their traditional way of working. So to identify problems and issues is what we have done. Widespread poverty is the condition when we started. The developer has used to the way of they develop other property, and we want them to have a new starting a new way of looking at the land with some new ideas. The place has a lot of agricultural pollution. The rainforestry has destroyed by a lot of tree farms. There are insufficient vehicle access. There are a lot of undeveloped economy and deforestation, destructive constructions, despairing culture. The architecture has no local styles, and unplanned growth will harm the place. So we decided to have a lot of discussion, local discussion, have public involvement. This diagram shows you some of the typical way of development. Typical hotel, 5-star hotel in the resort area. A creative way is to have them blended at the down. On the bottom are all creative ways we presented. On the top are the way we show them what they normally other development are doing. For example, a lot of typical development, they will move the residents on the farms to the building, and they also lose the land they've been working on for a long time. In this project, we encourage them to stay in their house, just to renovate of their housing, become a family host to the tourists. And they also keep their farming way of to show the farm to the city people, to the city visitors. For example, if we left the village to grow itself, it will grow to the yellow part by itself. And if we are going to provide municipality the infrastructure for them, for these 4 villages, you are going to provide 4 of them. And in this planned way, we provide a centralized everything, and then we keep the village the size they are. So these are the ways we provide them, how to deal with the water edge, creative ways, more softened edge of waters, some of those. Project analysis, topographic analysis with GIS is necessary. It's probably for every project you need to do that. Environmental analysis, the green belt analysis, the blue analysis, ecological, productive systems, topographic, and culture, architecture analysis also needed. Many local art traditions, including weaving, dancing, play music instrument, are distinctive Li music instrument. Li minority is one minority, very popular population there. They have been passed down from generations. It will be shame to lose them. So we selected 10 villages in there instead of a regular way, those 10 villages to be a competitor to attract outside visitors. They can each one have their own unique attractive way. Like maybe one village is very good for dancing, the other one is for weavings, the other one is for for the wining to sellers for the wine, how to make the countryside wine. They all provide the tourists interesting activities. They can stay there longer after you visit village 1. You need to go to the second one for different activities. So that way, they're not competitors for the tourism. They are together. It's a win-win situation. Also, the architecture tradition is very interesting local. We find them, abstract them, like this sloped roof is for the rain season, for the rainwater fast to go down. This raised elevation for the floor is because of the wet weather over there, the hot and wet weather in the summer. The go through the wind encourage the breeze. These all need to be incorporated in our design. During the process, we had a lot of community empowerment, community meetings, and reached the agreement that they decided in the whole area, Number 1 is the area that experienced very little, it will have very little development. So we're not going to propose new road through there, only the maintenance path, the maintenance road efficient for probably for the fire prevention and for scientific research. This area 2 is the high mountain, with a minimum, with a steep slope, some climbing sports activities, and maybe a little bit horseback riding. The area 3 is very in the natural element, natural resource, probably it's the most poor natural resource. We have all the tourists, all the future building in the area 3, concentrate in area 3, and leave the area 4, 2, 1 together to the nature, more to the nature. So after our design, we're only doing one or two, a few projects. We're a design company. We will leave the area, but we left the local developer and left the local governor with a design guideline, phase 1 design guideline for the future people, future year, to follow the same guideline, same protect nature guideline. Here is the one element we were designed, the entrance feature, and this is the build entrance feature, subtropical entrance feature. Some water feature. This is what I mentioned before. In the center are still kept as farmland. The village around it stays. The developer and the government help them to restore, make their housing better, and give them a little bit more space for the guest room. The guest can come visit there and watch the farmland in the backyard. And these are the new renovated new villagers housing, and the central lawn are for the visitors. So this new tourist era entrance, and this is the bridge going into the tropical area. By the way, this is my daughter. A good design, who benefits? Environment benefits from a good planning and design. Rainforestry, water, we encourage biodiversity. Tourists get visitors get benefit. They have unique experience. They can have a longer stay. They have more varieties, more choice. They have connected to the nature, being educated. They have diverse activities. The local people, the social, they got benefits. The living standard got improved. Their income got improved. Their education got improved locally. And their facility, their municipalities, all those utilities got provided, getting better. In return, all economic got benefit. They rise, as I mentioned, local annual income has been raised year by year, and more job opportunity provided, and a successful tourism program. So to conclude, we want to encourage, as a designer, we want to see an old street turning to this. And we want to see an industry place. They grow, no matter how they grow, the central green space got maintained. The architecture can have flavor, people have more areas, but it stays. So this concludes my presentation. And I think I have a few moments to open to the questions.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Tang. Now we will have Professor Charm to moderate on the questions.
Thank you very much, Professor Jenny Tang. That was a very comprehensive presentation. I'm sure the students did enjoy the presentation a lot. On behalf of the Environmental Landscape Studio Laboratory, we would like to extend our gratitude for sharing us this valuable insights in creating a livable city. I also like how you reiterated the need for landscape designs to tell a story, but also value and celebrate the present day. And you have shown indeed impeccable visualizations on how to communicate our stories in a design. And I do hope that our students were able to get some inspirations from your presentation. And we're now going to begin answering the questions. As a reminder, you can still submit your questions through chat and comment section, be it on Zoom or on YouTube Live. So students, kindly send in your questions. Should you have questions to address to Professor Jenny Tang?
Thank you.
I do have a question though. You've mentioned and you iterated the use of history and the culture of the past on how these are being integrated to a landscape design. So is this integration a common design philosophy of your company, or does that reflect in nearly all the landscape spaces in China?
Yes, this is a common design, common practice in our project. We encourage this philosophy for our design teams. It has not been very popular used in what I see most of the other companies, although some of them have the same attitude towards those. Some of them, when we say history, people tend to pick them and just to copy them. I think my personal view, that's not the very creative, that's not the best way. The best thing is we don't rebuild or copy a piece of history. We dig into the story and try to interpret it with a contemporary, with a modern way.
All right, thank you for that. You've also mentioned that your company accepts students for internship. What do you specifically or commonly look for an applicant to get admitted into the internship program?
Oh, great. Um, Actually, in the past, I have about 4 or 5 coworkers who are from Philippines and and they were very good designers, very good friends, and we love them. And we have designers from US, we have designers from Europe. A lot of people graduate from America, from England, from other country. We welcome them. You don't have to speak Chinese to work here. We have staff who can communicate in English. We have a very international team, and we also have intern team. We collaborate with universities. I like to mention we have in the past 15 years, we actually continually have intern program. We're looking at senior students, also maybe the last year of your study in the summer. A minimum is 3 months. We would like a longer time, maybe 6 months, like University of Louisiana State University. They would offer student credit for 1 semester to spend in our company. They respect the experience. They think the student also, they give our advisor, we have advisor from our design team, and we would give them evaluation. The school recognize them. So we would like to have students, maybe 6 months is a better time. And if they are going to graduate, they can choose to stay as an employee, as a designer to join our team. We would welcome. So we look people who have a good communication skill, who are willing to learn new things. People who are, if you're good in a lot of some computer design program are good, especially hand drawing. Good writing hand drawing is a way of you communicate, you thinking, you have you thinking to the paper. That's the people we're looking for.
All right. Thank you for that. All right, students, kindly take note of those qualifications should you be are interested in applying for internship in Ecoland. Now the questions are coming in. Good morning, Prof. Tang. Thank you for that informative talk. I would like to ask, as a designer, how do you balance between the interests of your clients with the local culture and users?
Okay. Our client basically consists from private developer, school, government official. Some are government public project. They all have, sometimes they all have different goal. They all need to economically viable. First of all, you need the design can create value. That's one thing. Doesn't always like a design can have to service people. They will lose the economic income. Secondly, there are a lot of regulations for the biodiversity. Sometimes the regulation is not there. One example I can remember, sometimes if you have done your homework, you have researched, you have enough supporting material, if we can show the client how this will benefit to them, most of the time they will listen to the advice. Sometimes they can't, not all of the project, like unfortunately sometimes. For example, I remember one project, a very early project we've done in Nanshan, Hainan Island. We have 7 kilometers of coastal line of a big park area. At that time, early 2000, China's regulation does not require developer or landscape architect to maintain the sand dune. People's view, sometimes sand dune is a boring site. It blocked the people to the view to the ocean. But we were able to convince the client and the government, the sand dune, the vegetation there, they grow, it's not easy. You need to maintain this sand dune if you want to protect the park, protect the land behind them. It is a critical thing between the ocean and land. Very fortunately, the sand dune was saved. And nowadays it's a tourist attraction. That park, they have no problem with the income. If you can show them example, if you can show them the science behind them and the future picture, I would say probably more than half of the time it works.
All right, thank you for that. We do have one question from our YouTube live. Um, I just want to mention that I like how you merge or integrate historical and cultural artifacts and stories in your project. With these are contemporary projects with consideration to eco communities. My question specifically for the Wangjing Soho project in Beijing,
Mhm.
what was the deciding factor in utilizing or merging the public space with the private development?
I think it was a team decision. It was the developer was called Soho China, and architects is very um, strong-minded. Um, this project unique because of the developer. He doesn't own big piece of land. So after he built the three big tower and the three small buildings, there are not very much land left. It's not going to look pretty. And right next to it, fortunately, there was a city-owned Greenland. Uh, it's supposed to be a community park right next to it. So it it makes sense to them if they can do the whole thing together. In this way, it's a win-win situation. The client, uh, the clients, all his tenants, when they were in the tower, they feel all those public land is part of the project. The city win because the investment, all the money was put in by the developer for the construction of the park. And the developer wins because in the feeling, if the people feels good in the office, he can easily sell and rent out his office. And the citizen neighborhood also win because they can walk into there, they can bring their dog, bring their kids after walk to walk over there. And the retail shop also win because they can attract not only the office people, but the citizen, but people from all over. This situation, it's easy to convince, I think. So this project does not, we cannot dig out a lot of history or like old story to tell, but there are new story to tell now. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, of course, indeed. Should you have any more questions from our students, kindly again comment on the Zoom panel and as well as on YouTube Live.
Yasmini or other? Oh,
Do we have still more questions
yeah,
from our students?
I have a lot.
Oh yeah, sure. If you want to add something, go ahead.
Let's see, I need to. Local culture user, how do you balance between? Okay, I've answered that.
Great. Now we have another question from our YouTube live. The question is, how do you prevent fallen leaves from deciduous species from getting into the water features and drains? Do you incorporate that in the design, or do you employ a specific technology, or do you do this manually?
Oh, let's see. Are you talking about the Wangjing project specifically? One way we do this, we try to have big leaf trees and stay away from the downwind side to prevent. A lot of the leaf are done actually manually in here because manually leaf cleaning is not that expensive in China. But in design, we try not to have a lot of small, easy to fall leaf things near the water. That's planting design need to be very carefully done. And also evergreen, we try to use a certain evergreen around it, but not right next to it.
All right. Thank you for answering that question. May we call on Sir Dan to give comments on the presentation or anything to add? Professor Dan Villajuan.
I have one question.
Oh,
Is
yeah,
it,
sure. Go ahead.
as we are still facing the pandemic with new practicing less public gathering, how will landscape design specifically in public space adopt this new norm, and how can we correspond as designer? Good question. Yes, the pandemic, it's not going away as quick as we wish. So we got to prepare to live with it for a while. Public space, actually, outdoor public space are more in need nowadays. We need to create more outdoor seating area, separating small gatherings, afford people to have some social life. So I think we have more work to do to correspond with the design. And I think in future, we are going to provide, if we can provide a lot of meeting, gathering outdoor, then that will reduce the indoor meeting risk, which give us landscape architect more opportunities. Yes.
All right. Thank you for clarifying that to us. Sir Dan, would you like to give some comments or say something?
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Charles De Rafisa. So, as the designated rapporteur for this week 4 webinar, um, let's wrap up what we have covered so far this morning. So Professor Tang, our esteemed speaker for this webinar, explained and discussed with us her office, Ecoland, and company. What's interesting to note is that her company periodically invites speakers from other countries, and that's a good thing, I believe, with regards to improving or adding to the knowledge base of a specific office. Okay, her company also hosts internship programs with a lot of universities, both within the region and abroad in other countries as well. Of course, the office has been awarded several times, one of which is what we witnessed last year in Cebu, when their office garnered an IFLA APR award with one of her projects. So congratulations on that, Professor Tang.
Thank you.
She posed this question to all of us, whether we are government officials, planners and designers, developers, business leaders, and as citizens. So what can we do with regards to the environment, how we can do our part in creating sustainability and creating a livable environment. And to go into this, Professor Tang focused on three essential aspects. Number one, being best use of what we have. Number two, uh, attract the best of the population to settle, utilize, use the environment as designed. And number three, design for the new choice and new trends. What's new? What would the new generation look for? And covering all of these three um, aspects of the presentation, Professor Tang discussed on how a lot of her projects or the projects of the company were able to save on cost, how, for example, in her project or their project in with Lao Shimen, Old Westgate in Chengdu, China, it was discussed how history of the area was used or it became instrumental in enhancing and developing the city with mixed-use developments. Interestingly, natural elements such as water bodies were utilized or enhanced, something that I think all designers should be doing. This is an integral part of the development. One of the issues that was posed by this particular project was the flooding. Of course, it is a perceived problem, but it was solved by Professor Tang in her office by designing around and with the naturally occurring phenomena. So the design and rehabilitation of this particular project provided an experiential environment for all users of this space. Existing elements found on site were used extensively in the rehabilitation and design, making the development sustainable and manageable, and attuned as well with the and to the genius loci or the spirit of the place. It added to it infused culture, history, character to the site. Other projects, for example, she mentioned the project Hidden City, where ingenious design was implemented. They reused an existing well that was interestingly refurbished to become a cooler for wine and other beverages. I would assume taking advantage of the fact that soil at certain depths can serve as an insulator, can serve as an insulation. So this particular project involved a lot of art, but alongside that, a lot of the culture and history were merged or implemented as a design determinant. Covering her particular topic on attracting the best of the population to settle, Professor Tang showed us Wangjing Soho, or I believe this is small office, home office development. So it's an example of how a derelict site can be converted. It's a good example of cohesive design and how landscape architecture complements architecture and architecture complementing landscape architecture both at the same time. It is interesting to note the customized and bespoke design components utilized throughout the development from design to construction. Often, this is a challenging feat for, of course, not just design professionals, but contractors who we task to build or implement the project. And things like this challenge everybody so that we move towards this kind of trend. Yes, like I said, this is a trend nowadays, and I think Professor Tang is posing to us the challenge as well to be bold and daring with design to push the envelope, so to speak, to push closer collaboration with structural engineers, most especially, with uses like what she showed us in the project example, where a retail space is located below plazas with water bodies. And by experience, projects like these are no easy task, especially for the structural engineer who has to design, who has to engineer a lot of the loads uh, provided or given by the landscape design, and in the end coming up with something implementable and feasible for the project. Professor Tang also introduced to us, showed us a tool that is used by her office extensively. This is BIM, or Building Information Modeling. It's also used locally, and it's a software, it's a tool that is used to make collaborative work between all professionals, all consultants, and every stakeholder for that matter. See the bigger picture, see issues before they actually arise on site. An example is the project she showed us, JD.com headquarters in Beijing. Again, there's extensive use of existing materials. What I found interesting with this particular project is what she mentioned about barriers being diminished uh, to enhance social factor, to enhance the intermingling of the users of the space. And lastly, for her third component in her presentation, design for the new choice and trend, uh, one example is her project Redstone Park of Lux Lake, Chengdu, catering to a new generation of users of landscape space, and the parents, empty nesters, among others. Um, it's an example of using the character of the site uh, and natural elements as a design element, and that adds to the drama of the site and creates a story in the development. And I think that the project of Professor Tang clearly showed this effect. Of course, she mentioned, or to closing her presentation, that there should be consideration for a broad range of ages, or broad age range group, and to cater to a multitude of different uses. Of course, the last project that we saw that she showed us is her project in Hainan Island, where the protection of the environment was paramount, and where they limit where they limit the use of or the destruction of skyscrapers. Lastly, Professor Tang showed us, explained to us the benefits of not just her the practice done by her office, but of course by landscape architecture as well, and that we should think about the environment. Um, there is benefit provided with regards to tourism. There are social benefits. Okay, when we mingle, when we use the space for our day-to-day needs, for example. And of course, there are economic benefits as well when landscape architecture and collaborative work is implemented and it results in good design. Lastly, we had several questions from our students, and as we have seen, Professor Jenny Tang has answered these questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sir Dan. I hope this pandemic will be over and we welcome you to come visit Beijing and visit Ecoland in future, maybe to share some of your work and your thought too.
Thank you, Professor Tang.
Thank you very much for gracing our webinar. We are very grateful. Thank you very much.
Sir Nari, would you like to close our webinar? Sir, unmute ka.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Professor Tang. I really appreciate, we really appreciate what you shared unselfishly. And it is very evident that you have very strong vision, imagination, and creativity in all your designs. No? I was really, it's very noticeable that you were able to really weave nature, culture, tradition, local materials, added some symbolisms into it, but very clearly putting focus on the community and the users, of your designs. In a nutshell, you were able to share with us in one sitting, you were able to share with us the potentials of landscape architecture, the need to collaborate, and the need to work together. So I think you have given us a lot of thoughts, a lot of things to ponder upon, and we thank you very much for doing so. It's a big honor that you shared with us, all your wisdom that has accumulated in you. And I think the students are very much now inspired to really pursue the path that you have started. And I think these are things that we are now going to consider in our teachings. We in the academe are looking forward to interacting and sharing and benefiting from the wisdom of such gifted person. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We hope to have more collaborations in future.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Johnny.
So with that, we would like to thank all the participants for this webinar, especially our guest speaker, Professor Tang. And this ends our webinar, and take care, everybody, and have a safe day. Bye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye, Prof.
Thank you,
Johnny.
Professor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.